G'day guys, thought I'd do a bit of a review on our 9250 header with Harvest Command and 60 foot Midwest front. It's full blown drought here in Australia, so we're not going to be stripping the best crops, so we won't be able to see how the automation and feed rate control goes in heavier crops, but we'll see what we can do in a couple of wheat crops. The barley crops I'm stripping at the moment are pretty average, but it's still doing a pretty good job. I'll do a run around the outside. I'll run through the automation on the screen, and yeah, we'll see how we go. And the header in the front shows some of the new improvements they've made. Front's been really good. I can't really fault anything. I like the 6-bat reel. I like the pickup reel. I've only had bat reels before this. I like the pickup reel. I probably wouldn't go back to a bat, but got little airbags on these things. They're probably about my biggest gripe with the whole front. Anyone who's dealt with tyres know that little tyres don't take a lot of air to escape before they go flat, and it's certainly the same with these airbags. Just to pump them up. I've been pumping them up nearly every second day. Probably the biggest downfall of the front, I reckon, but there's probably a good reason for it. But out here on the flat, I don't really need the best ground following ability. I just need it to do the job. Airbags in the front here too. It's got a tank in there, so it holds its air pressure a lot longer, but they take the brunt of the weight. It's a bit hard to see. Cartridge style there. It works pretty well. It does everything it's supposed to do. It follows the ground and tilts when it's supposed to. Dry belt in here. I like the box. All your hydraulic pressure relief valves and whatever that. 1000 spline PDO. That's different to the 8240. They only had a 540, which is a bit annoying, really, because you can't use your old fronts on the new headers or new fronts on the old headers. Sort of a bit annoying. Chopper in this one, never had a chopper before. There's not a lot of difference on this side, truth be told, from an 8240. In the back they've got this little, see it there, little pressure sensors in there on either side, like a sieve pressure sensor. They're pretty handy for diagnosing whether you're there. That's the pressure sensor there. Pretty good for diagnosing how your rotor's coming over the sieves. This one actually throws a little bit to the left, which I haven't had time to fix yet, but it's handy to know. Plus they obviously read sieve load as well. These spreaders are now manually adjusted. I believe they are an option to go automatic, just like the 8240 was. Seems like a step backwards, but one thing I do know is they do throw a bloody long way better than the 40 series. Like we're still doing this direct heading canola here, and they'll throw out to those outside wheels, and in good guns they'll get the full 60 foot. So I can't complain there. Biggest change they've probably made structurally, I suppose, is the addition of this camera here. This is a camera on the clean grain elevator to read matter other than grain and cracked grain using variable light as sources out of the camera. And they're able to detect the difference there. Pretty good for the matter other than grain. Cracked grain is probably not such an issue for me, but maybe for you. This one is obviously running automation, as you'll see in the rest of the video. That's an option. The feed rate control isn't an option, so I like it. I like the feed rate control, so I probably like it more than the automation, truth be told. Anyway, that's a general runabout of the outside. If you want to ask about something else or want to have a look at something else, let us know. got that so far is the sieves, pre-sieve, bottom sieve, fan, rotor and cage range all adjust themselves to what it thinks it needs to be. You just set it off these sensitivities here, and it essentially just tries to keep it around that. Right on the yellow mark is where it's trying to aim. If it's under the yellow mark, it won't make any adjustments. If it's over, it'll try and make adjustments. So that's the idea of the automation. It's just set off algorithms in the software itself, so it's just got what it thinks it needs to do, generally off what's in Case's book, be my guess, and through their testing. Yeah, so it'll make adjustments as it sees fit. If it doesn't need to make adjustments, it won't change anything. The higher sensitivities, the more it has to work to do its job. Sometimes that could be good, sometimes that could be bad. Cage range on a button now, pre-sieves on a button now, and then the rest of the buttons are pretty much all the same. Return to cattle, that's pretty much the same. Let's do another video on the automation or the harvest command that they've got in these 50 series combines. I haven't had it on today. I haven't been having a lot of success with it. It's I found that the matter other than grain and the sieve losses have sort of been fighting against each other, and eventually the matter other than grain, it wins. So it's a bit of a funny system. Anyone who's had one of these headers before knows that generally the fan is set not max, let's put it that way. It's not singing its heart out all day just trying to clean the sample. You set it to a set point. It looks like it's starting to get up a little bit higher in the sieve loss. You might just bump it off and you'll notice that it drops because it's suddenly it's gone from blowing it straight onto the sieve loss sensor to just blowing the crap out and leaving the seed on the bloody sieve like it's supposed to. This machine, from what I can tell, doesn't recognise that, and it needs to, because what's happening is when the automation takes over, I'll turn it on here now, there's a button up here to turn it on. When it takes over, it automatically tries to adjust the sieves. The pre-sieve particularly is too far open. I don't know why. The pre-sieve, by the time it's finished making its adjustments, it'll do probably up to 11 on, that's the pre-sieve number there. It'll go up to 11, which is letting too much chop sort of straw into the header, and that in turn is making the matter other than grain loss go up, which is fine until it closes off the sieves. And then when it closes off the sieves, it makes the sieve loss go off. So it's like fighting against itself, and eventually it'll bump up this fan speed up to 1100 revs, which is more than I've ever had it on in my life, and it's sort of working against itself. It's blowing it out the back, and then your sieve losses go out of control. You're just like, what? It's fighting against itself. Now, I've only been playing around in this wheat for a day. It's not. I haven't been really giving it a good workout because, to be honest, it was giving me the shits earlier on. But I'll continue to play around with the wheat. In the barley, had no issues whatsoever. It quite literally had that one on 19, that one on 15. And the pre-sieve was 11, and it was deadly clean. Like, the rotor's always doing about 1100 revs, fan was doing about 900 in the barley, and the concave was 14 to 15 or something. It had no issues in the barley at all. Now, I'll put this out there, it's not actually set up for barley automation now, but the wheat automation works pretty well with it. It's I think it's mainly just the camera in the clean grain elevator that does the cracked grain and the matter other than grain. It's not set up for that, but it was that clean in the sample anyway. It didn't matter, so that wasn't a big issue. But I have been running it in the wheat setting. It was only when I come into the wheat that the matter other than grain and the cracked grain started moving a little bit. Cracked grain's not a big problem. I got the sensitivity nearly back right off on that. That's not a problem over here. But yeah, the matter other than grain, because of the little chop straw that was coming into the sample. See it sort of there, a few white caps. It was surely sending the matter other than grain sensor off. So that was a bit of an issue, but. Now I'll have another go. I've got it on there now. Let's see where it ends up, and I might be able to show you what I'm talking about. I'll come back. This is about the most testing conditions you'd ever find for a bloody feed rate control to try and maintain its speed or change its speed on the fly, because it's working in really shit, either like less than a ton, or it's working in 5 ton to the hectare, or it's working in stuff that's as thick as 5 ton to the hectare, but it's only going about a ton. It's completely variable, just depending on where in the paddock we are and how much moisture it's had. That's the way it's sort of running this year, but it's really putting the feed rate control through its paces. I'm actually surprised at how well the feed rate control is doing, actually. I thought I would have had to have taken over by now, but it's doing a pretty good job. It's keeping the rotor and the sig losses down. I got them set fairly low just because it's so variable, but like the sensitivities, I've got them set fairly low, but really it's doing a really good job. Got a max of 10 Ks, that's that figure there, and then it can up and send it down to 2 Ks, just depending on how much it's getting in. But the idea of the feed rate control is how much weight is actually coming into the front, and then you set your point, the set point for the feed rate control to where you think about is average, and then you can adjust it up or down. I only found this today. You can adjust it up and down by pressing the shift button up or down on the header front, and that actually sets your set point. It's like a fine calibration for your set point, either higher or lower. That made a big difference. No one told me about that before I got it. To be fair, I haven't seen any of the blokes from Case, so they probably could have told me that, but I found it in the book, and it's made a huge difference to how the feed rate control works, and it made it a lot more aggressive. I found it was a little bit too passive before, and then you bump it up a couple of shift header up, and it makes it a hell of a lot more aggressive. It actually gets up and gets into it a bit, and I've got it set up performance mode here at the moment, so it's probably gonna drop off the speed a little bit here, just because of the rotor losses went off the dial a little bit there, which it has done, but it's sort of maintaining that speed. But that's how it works. It's working off the rotor loss, the sieve loss, to the 2 left-hand side of the triangles for people who haven't got one, and then maximum engine power, which is set at 100%. It's not really working up that high, and how much is physically coming in the front. I believe that's read off the shaft that goes down to the front. And you just calibrate that sensor to where you think it should be, and it'll try and maintain that amount of feed coming in the front, which it does pretty well. But it throws the whole thing into the whole spanner into the works when you're trying to feed in a crop that looks like it's 5 ton, but it's really only got 1 ton in it. So you're going, oh, this thing's not doing anything. Why is it, get into it a bit? But the problem is, it thinks it's got 5 ton load on the front, because it looks like it's 5 ton out there, but it's just nothing out there. There's no seeds. It's all. It's been so dry out here that it hasn't filled, or it's just pinched off right at the end. So it's really hard to criticise the feed rate control for what the crop's doing, because you wouldn't usually get those sort of circumstances in a usual year. I'm actually, like I said before, I'm really impressed with how it actually is handling it, to be honest with you. It does a pretty good job. Yeah, that's my thought. This has been the perfect paddock to give the feed rate control a go, and I think it stacks up pretty well. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the feed rate control. It's if you go from being in a patch that's fairly thin to a patch that's going 5 tonne, it's gonna overcompensate a little bit. It does overcompensate. It'll slow you right down to 2Ks and until everything settles back down, and then it takes a fair while to get back up to speed. So you take that into account a little bit when you're dealing with it. You can't expect it to just go from nothing to everything and not get overloaded. Like, that's essentially your power spikes up to 100% or 120% in some instances, and it overloads. The feed rate control just overcompensates a little bit. The other thing I didn't mention before was it does have a tendency to learn. I'm not sure how, but obviously there's some sort of algorithms or something in it that allow it to learn, and it does get better the more you use it. If you just don't touch it, don't try and control it, it learns and it knows what it's got to do. It's just got to learn how to do it, and that can take up to a day. I've been using it all day, and it's just slowly getting better and better through the day. But yeah, that was my other thought on the feed rate control that I didn't mention before. Just having a bit of a go, getting some canola, this 60-foot front today. Doing a pretty good job. Occasionally it sort of builds up in there, and you sort of slow down and get it to feed in a bit better. But I'm feeling the centre belt pressure relief valve might be slipping a bit as well. I'll let a bit past when the weight gets on it, but 90% of the time it's doing a pretty good job. I didn't know whether the 60-foot would handle this job, but there is a pair of stuff coming into the centre here. It's doing the job anyway. Another option for blokes. I'm going to buy a Midwest front, I suppose. This front, the cross auger. It always bugged me that it never made it to the end, but it's I can see now when I actually need it, it's no issue whatsoever. They must stick either a 40 or 45-foot one on everything. It does the job, but there's no issue there when you're looking at a cross auger for these things when you're direct heading canola. So yeah, the automation in the canola, it's not really making many changes here. The front is probably making it's more the limiting factor than anything else. So once it gets itself set to a certain point, it's pretty right. It's I've got the sensitivity on the rotor like it's 93, which is the highest I've had it on anything, and Sieves is on 33. I've got the feed rate control on. As I said, the front's probably the limiting factor here, but still goes along at 6Ks nearly with the 60-foot front, so I'm not exactly complaining here. I've only got 70 hectares as well to do, so all in all, actually, I reckon automation's been doing a fairly good job. But the top sieve doesn't go open any more than 10 when it's on automated mode with the harvest command going. It's like, I don't know why they seem to think, maybe Case seem to think you never need to open the sieves more than that, but I certainly could probably use it in this. But anyway, it is what it is. Loading, we're just I thought I'd just show you how close the 60-foot Midwest is to the chase bin. There's about 3 foot, that's about it. It's a little bit daunting when you're doing this on the run. I'm not doing this on the run at the moment, obviously. It's a little bit daunting, particularly for the header driver, because you can't see the gap. The chase bin driver can see it, but yeah, it's manageable. You get used to it after a week. I've been doing this for a week. You sort of get used to the distance, but it does trick you a little bit anyway. Thought I'd do a section of the video just showing this front end pretty average looking barley here. It's, 1.3 tonne there, but it's fairly thin. It's thinner in patches too. Leaves are pretty clean. The rear does a pretty good job. It's not leaving any heads behind that I can see. Just cutting it off on the deck, or pretty close to the deck. Just trying to get it in without leaving any behind. Covers the ground pretty quick. That's keeping it in there, going in there pretty nice. Crossover's not really doing much here at the moment, but it does do something in a bit heavier crop. Cruise along at 10 k's an hour here. Haven't got the automation on, but it's not really doing anything. It's just sitting there because it's got nothing to do anyway. I'll see for the rest of on the header. I think it's probably best to say that anyone who's had a case before is probably going to find not a hell of a lot of difference between this one and the old one. The automation's new, the feed rate's new, the clean grain elevated camera's new. It's all the same as what you really had with case before. $1 million question, you're going to get more capacity and automation. Yeah, probably. This year has been a real good year for the feed rate control. It seems to shine well in relatively even crops and just slow down and speed up just a little bit. This year I've just been working highly variable crops and sort of either going into a thick patch too hard and then slowing down, overcompensating when it slows down, or it's not going quick enough trying to get back out of the patch. Sort of the worst possible bloody situation you can test it. I've had it into a nice even crop early on in the piece that did a really good job. I just set it and forget it, and it did the job just as I'd like to drive it. I have high hopes for it in the future. Automation does a pretty good job. I think with a few more updates they might be able to improve a few things. Yeah, it's not my cup of tea at the moment. I don't rate it that high, but like everything, it's probably got plenty of room to improve, and I've probably got a fair bit to learn about it yet. Get some decent crops into it and actually get it to use it like it's supposed to be used, and probably do a lot better job. But yeah, that's about it. Really impressed with the 60-foot front. I'd happily buy another one. In fact, I'm already thinking about buying one for the 8240 we got. They're just simple, easy, doing a good job. A little bit, but a few extra hectares per hour. You can't complain with that. All of it's got just enough reach to get into a chase bin. It's fairly close as you saw from the video, but you certainly get used to it after a while. The width, getting it through gates, anywhere I can go with a 50, I can go with a 60. I don't think there's been one gateway that's pulled it up so far. No issue with maneuverability at all. Yeah, all in all, I like the package. It's just a thing to see what happens with a couple of updates in the next few years of software and whatnot. And yeah, alright, if you have any questions or comments, just leave them in there, wherever you see it, just leave them there and I'll find them. Alright, thank you. Ciao.